Hello and welcome to this Smite tier list. This is going to be a prediction tier list for the patch 3.12. This is, of course, the patch called the mid-season update. There were a lot of changes, so if you're watching this, I'm guessing that you've seen this patch and you know what the changes were. So I'm not going to go too in-depth about explaining those types of things, but I will say what I've seen in casual and rank play as far as new gods and how they're performing and where I think the meta is going to go in the future. Of course, I think that the Smite Pro League has a lot of effect on the meta in Smite, and there is not going to be a summer split. So there is going to be a Joust tournament, or at least it's going on right now. But it's tough to actually, put a tier list in written in stone if there isn't a Pro League to kind of measure how gods are doing. So this is just a prediction, as I said. Nothing is absolute. So with that, we're going to go into it and talk about Agni. Agni, I don't think was changed at all. As far as mages, the biggest change that happened was, of course, Bancroft's Talon's passive was changed. So we'll start going into gods that I think will be affected by that change. But Agni, I think, is still going to be in the A tier. I'm using Cab, got some buffs in the patch. Not too great. I still think he's the worst hunter, or at least one of the worst. I'm trying to think of others that would be worse. He's probably the worst hunter in the game. So I think it's easy to say that he's in B tier. Apuash is another one mage that is just very low. I don't think Bancroft's talent affects him that much. Very squishy, doesn't really have an escape, so he's definitely at the bottom for me. Amaterasu, I think, is going to be very strong. I think if once the fall split starts, you're going to see some Amaterasu play. The solo lane in general, I don't think was changed too much. Of course, Runeforge Hammer was a big change that happened. So any god that's is affected by a slow, the passive on Runeforge says that they will receive 10% more damage from any source. So she has a passive that slows, and it's not too hard to use. You can get that slow going pretty often. So I think Runeforge Hammer might be a good item. But in general, I'm not sure how big that item is going to be. So she's still very strong. I think it can definitely be played in the soul lane quite a bit. On her, I think, is one of the better hunters right now. Now, of course, the biggest controversy in 3.12 was the fact that they took out Golden Bow from the game. Now, on her, definitely loved Golden Bow. Most hunters did. In fact, all hunters love Golden Bow. But if you think about taking that item away and what you're left with, on her has a passive that gives him a lot of penetration. So having that early gives him an advantage over a lot of hunters. So you have to kind of think of it from that standpoint. The question is, do you run Death Toll on her? Do you run Transcendence? I think it depends on your preferability. I think he could absolutely do well with Death Toll because he can be basic attack focused, but he also uses his abilities quite a bit, and he has good, strong abilities. So I really think he's one of those flexible hunters. You can really do it in a lot of different ways, which is something that I actually really like. But that passive, I think, gives him a good edge right now. Anubis is probably one of the most interesting gods right now. I would actually put him in A minus tier, but since that tier doesn't really exist anymore, I don't know why they got rid of the minus tiers. I think that is actually a good, it's a good middle ground between someone who's sitting in one, maybe a bad tier compared to an A tier or whatever. So I would put him in A minus, but I think because his ultimate is wider, it's easier to hit. Of course, he got, I think, increased movement speed, and the cooldown on his Mummify was reduced so he can use that a little bit more often. I think he's actually going to be okay. Of course, you got to be careful late game with him because he is very squishy and immobile. But I think he's going to be okay. So you might see him in some pro play eventually. Ao Kuang is unfortunately still broken in my opinion. The reason being he's unlike any other assassin because he's magical and being able to pick up a Polynomicon on an assassin is broken. It's completely broken because that is an ability that if you think about it, if you're playing as a Scylla and you pick up Polynomicon, you're more likely to miss a ranged basic attack with that item. But since Ao Kuang can teleport in and just appear, that means that his burst damage is just so much stronger because he can use a very good ability in his 3 and his 2. And then he can also follow it up with a very strong basic attack. So that item is just broken on him. Magical assassins in general. So I think Freya is another one that could do well with Polynomicon. But I don't think I'd put her in the jungle. I think Ao Kuang is really the best, probably only magical assassin. So that item just makes him very, very strong. Aphrodite, I think, is actually going to be verging on S tier. I'm gonna put her in A plus because I don't know if she's there quite yet, but her passive makes her pretty tanky, especially in team fights. She's gonna be very strong. And also her kiss now gives 30% mana regeneration, so she's huge. She can heal and she can also regenerate more mana. So I think she's gonna be pretty strong. I think she could be played in the dual lane if you have, let's say, a tank in the solo lane or maybe even a tank in the jungle. Apollo, I think, is going to be okay. Of course, Golden Bow getting taken out hurt a lot of basic attack focused hunters, but I think Apollo did get some buffs several patches ago that were good enough to make him still okay. And you can play Death Toll and do all right with him. I think Arachne will be good. She got her web got changed, so I think that actually makes for a pretty good escape on her. So we'll see what happens. She's not really amazing, but I do think that she will be okay. Our Ares, again, don't think he was changed at all. The biggest change for supports was of course Ritual Dagger and Emperor's Armor. I do think Emperor's Armor is a very strong item. I don't see too many supports pick it up, but I like it a lot. I think having that the tower advantage is very strong. So most supports aren't too affected by it, but I do think Ares is still very strong. Artemis is probably going to be back in the B tier, but we'll leave her B plus since she did get kind of popular. Of course, she really relied on Golden Bow for the early wave clear in order to farm up and be to get ahead of the other hunter. So she's probably going to go back to B. We'll see, but she could be okay. Athena, I think, is up here in S. She's always been there. I'm not going to talk about her too much. Oelix, I think, is going to be very strong. As far as junglers go, there wasn't too much change in the mid-season update. So I don't think there's going to be, I don't think jungler's going to be affected too much by it. But Oelix just has a lot of control, good amount of damage, and if you have speed buff as well as the Suku speed buff, she can just fly around and gank whenever she wants, and that's huge. So she's very strong. Bacchus is going to be up here with Athena. He was like the most played support in DreamHack. He's very aggressive. I think he's also good for stealing objectives with his belly flop. His ultimate has a lot of damage. He's a very high damaging support. So he's just very good right now. Up there with, they're both, I think Athena and Bacchus are like the best supports at the moment. Bacchusura is not very good. I'm not going to go into too much about him. Yeah. Speed buff is good on him, but it's, whatever. Bastet, I think Bastet's going to be coming back. It seems like more people are playing her. She has very good burst with her jump. Her jump is, I believe, the highest bursting assassin ability in the game. So her jump is a very good ability. It's a good escape as well. So we'll see. She might come back. I'll put her in A tier for now. Bologna, I think, is A plus, still very strong. Cabrakan is actually going to be S tier. The reason I'm saying that is because to me, Cabrakan's best position is in the jungle, and before the mid-season update, there wasn't really anything that made support junglers like completely viable or like necessary. It was like, why would you be a support? Why would you be Cabrakan when you can be a high damaging assassin? But now with Wrath, the changes that they made to the relic Wrath, that makes support jungle clear so much better, which just allows them to have more time to gank. Instead of spending like 5 minutes clearing jungle camps, they can actually do stuff. That Wrath also has a stun now, so that can just help him set up all of his other abilities. He's a very, very high damaging support, so I think in the jungle, Cabrakan could be an S tier god, and I think he is. So that's why he's going to go in S. Shock is okay. He's going to be good with Runeforge, but I don't see him, I don't see him going above A, like, ever. Chunga, I think, is A tier. Still doesn't really go anywhere. I think, again, with high risk, trying to help out the healers, you might see some more in the solo lane. But she's okay. She's gonna be. She might find a home at some point in the upcoming split in the fall, but I'm not sure. Chiron, I think, is actually going to be one of the stronger hunters because he's very much big on using Transcendence. He fell out of the meta because of Golden Bow, really. Like, people just didn't see why they would use him. His wave clear is revolved around his abilities, really. So he's going to be pretty strong. already seeing a lot more Chiron, so he's gonna have a slow build up to like the fall split, but I do think he's gonna be up there, one of the best hunters for sure. Kronos is probably gonna be back in S. I'll put him in A for now because he's not quite there, but I do think magical ADCs are just gonna be back in the meta, just like the end of season two, or most of season two really. So Kronos is gonna be strong. The reason Kronos fell out is because of Golden Bow. Um, and he's a good flex pick. You really want to have Kronos as a flex pick because maybe I'll do ADC, but maybe I can put him mid. You know, that's the whole reason why Kronos was good, and now he can go back to that kind of flex pick. So Cupid, I think, is good. Got played a lot of DreamHack. Is another one of those, I think, similar to On Her in that he's not completely basic attack focused. He has a passive that stacks on his basic attacks, but he's also not completely ability based. He only has two damaging abilities. The other two are a heal and mana regen, and then a dash. So he's kind of a mix. He has a very strong ultimate, which I think is great for team fights, but he does do well with Transcendence. That's how I would build him. I wouldn't build Destal. I think Transcendence is good for Cupid, so we'll see if he comes back. Of course, back in the Transcendence meta in like season two, people didn't play Cupid, so we'll see. But the builds are also changing a lot, which is good. Fafnir got some buffs. I'll put him in A plus. I don't really like Fafnir. I don't think he has enough peel. He's more of a damaging support, so I think honestly his home is in the soul lane. Um, Not really a jungler at all. And as far as support, he lacks. So I think he belongs in the soul lane. They buffed his ultimate, they buffed his stun length, they buffed a bunch of stuff. So he's okay, but I don't really care for the god, to be honest. He's cool, like the dragon's pretty awesome, but there are just way better supports out there. Fenrir, I think, is gonna be pretty good. In fact, I might put Fenrir in S because Fenrir is scary to play against. He's annoying. Um, and yeah, just Fenrir. Fenrir's he's one of those gods that like for some reason falls out of the meta every now and then. I don't understand why. Like he's always been up there, he's always been good. Every time some like adapting or some other like pro player pulls him out in the pro league, they usually like destroy with him. So I don't see why he should always be in the meta because he's very, very strong. So I think he's S. Freya is she's gonna come back. She's gonna be in the ADC role, so I'll put her in A plus. She could be an S tier eventually. She's um one of my friends who I play with, and we are basically like the dual lane team. Um, he excuse me, he played a game recently, and he went like 36-1 on Freya. Of course, the other team wasn't very good, but Freya can just lock down with her ults. No other hunters have an ability like that. Apollo has a global, but it doesn't lock down as Freya because Freya's ultimate, you can do more damage over a length of time, whereas Apollo is just like kind of a one-shot deal. So Freya can just chase you down and just wreck you. It's like guaranteed kills. So um, she's interesting. She falls out of the meta a lot, but she has like the best lockdown of any hunter hunter in quotes. Um, Geb, I don't like Geb. I don't know what it is. I don't like the fact that he's super passive early. Like you have to just stand there, and I don't like that. I could be wrong. Maybe he's up in S. He was an S for a long time. Great team fighting, but I don't like his laning. He's like the worst laner support in the game, and that's not my playstyle. Um, so I think because of that, he's A. And again, if you look back to like Golden Bow in theory should have made Geb better, and he actually fell off because the whole thing right now is because there's no more Golden Bow. It's good to have a support that can help clear, and Geb doesn't have that. He cannot help to clear. So for me, he's an A. Guan Yu is probably like A plus to S. His new passive is dumb. I love Guan Yu. He's fun to play. He wrecks. So we'll see. He might be up in S, but I'll put him in A plus for now. Hades is not good. Um, of course, Bancrofts is good for Hades. Actually, very good for Hades. Extremely good. So that could put him in A. It's kind of depends on taste. I prefer a long range mage. I think that they're just better in every way. But Hades, is good. So he's okay. Hebo is the best dual or one of the best dual characters in the game. Um, his River of the Atlas or whatever got a good buff. But I don't see him changing at all. I'll put him in B plus because he could be worse, but he's not great. Hell, I'll put an A because she did get some really good buffs, and I think healers are coming back. I wouldn't be surprised if once the fall split starts, Hell will just like take over again. I wouldn't be surprised. But for now, I'll leave her an A tier. Hercules, I think, is also A. Hu Yi is up here with Ao Kuang. The main reason being when you take Golden Bow out of the game, you have to look at what you were left with in season 2, basically, as far as Transcendence hunters. And even with Golden Bow, I thought Pen was better on Hui compared to Crit. Um, of course, the biggest thing that people are doing now is they build mainly Pen and physical power, and then they might do like a Deathbringer for a little bit of extra crit chance, which I think is good on Hui. That's a good build. So he's definitely like probably the best hunter right now. Hun Bats is always going to be like A plus for me. Not much has changed with him. Isis is A. Isis is interesting. She like fell off for no reason. I don't know why. Like her early game has always been super strong. Um, just other mages kind of popped up. Raijin I think was the biggest one that kind of pushed Isis back. Isis was like the number one pick for the longest time, and then Raijin kind of came up, and people were unsure about Raijin, but then eventually it was like, oh my god, like boom, 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 he is the best mage. So I think that's why Isis hasn't fallen off for any particular reason, but just isn't like the top. Janus is, however, at the top. He's S tier. Is always going to be there, at least should be there because of his utility. Utility just makes your team able to do more things, and having that on a mage is huge. So he's always going to be up there. Jingwei. Jingwei's interesting. I actually don't know what's going to happen with Jingwei. She, in theory, should go back to garbage because I hated her before Golden Bow. Um, but I'll put her in A. I don't know. Maybe, I think the biggest thing that happened was Zapman and Ataraxia, they kind of showed ranked and casual players how you're supposed to play her. And that just made her a little bit better. So maybe now people are more confident than when she was released. We'll see how it goes. I'll leave her an A tier. She might be okay. Kali, I think, could also go back. I'll put her in A plus. She's not really getting played too much, but she could come back. We'll see. Khepri, I think, is A plus. Um, very good. And again, with the wave clear is huge for supports right now. That's kind of where the meta is because we're going back to Transcendence. So having that extra damage on your support helps a lot. Whereas before you could play like a Geb, or you could play like who else has terrible clear? Amir is okay. Supports that didn't have good clear. Kumba was another one. Um, so being able to have his 2 ability to help kind of set up the wave, I think is just really, really good. So, but not quite Bacchus Athena, in my opinion. Kokolkin, I think, is A. Kokolkin is very good with Bancroft's Talon. He can just pop off those whirlwinds and then gain health back if he needs to. And of course, he gets the passive with the scaling, so just having the extra scaling on Bancroft really does help him. So that's a good item for him. Kumba, I think, is going to be A plus up here. Still the best, in my opinion, the best CC god in the game. But his clear is a little lacking. But I think is a great, great late game god. So Loki is actually going to be in A minus. If there was an A minus, that's where I'd put him. I hate putting him in A tier. Oh my god, I hate it. But I'll put him there because people are playing a lot of Loki, and I'm not seeing like the typical Loki players anymore. A lot of them are doing pretty well, and I think Heartseeker is an item that you should really consider if you're going to pick up maybe Loki. So, Heartseeker is a good item on him. Heartseeker is also an item that you could pick up on Amu's and Cab to make him a little bit stronger. That's good for his abilities because he is another ability-based hunter. So we'll see if Heartseeker gets used, but I think it's a good item for Loki. Medusa. So I think, in my opinion, I want Medusa to be an S tier. I love Medusa. She's an ability-based hunter. Her ultimate is super strong. She fell out she's kind of like the Isis of hunters, She falls out of metas because other hunters just kind of take over. I'm gonna put her an A plus, but I think she should be S. We'll see what happens. She's another one that could be played mid pretty well. Her ultimate just like locks down. So as far as hunters go, I think instead of looking for the lane clear and the farm, you're looking for hunters that can lock down people with their ultimates. Chiron can lock down people with his ultimate pretty well, because it's very long range. Medusa can lock down because it does a lot of damage and stuns. Um, and then Freya again is one of those magical ADCs that can lock down with her ultimate extremely well. So we'll see what happens with Medusa. I'm interested to see. Mercury, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, Mercury confuses me. I don't know if he's good. I don't know if he's bad. He seems to change so much. No one really plays him, so it's tough to get like a measure of how he's doing. But I'll put him in A tier. Like, if you have if you play Mercury or you've seen a lot of Mercury play and you can tell me where you think he goes, definitely do that because I'm actually very confused about Mercury. So don't really know where to put him. So that's why I'm putting him in A tier. Neith is going to be up there, S tier probably. She's kind of the shining example of a Transcendence Hunter, ability clear, an ultimate that can not only be a good finisher, but can also be a good way to help an ally who's trying to run away, or if someone's trying to like attack someone, you can use the Neath ultimate as an initiation from across the map. So it's a very very strong, pretty high utility ability. And of course, her wave clear is now going to be great with Transcendence. So she's S for sure. Nemesis is going to be S as well. Extremely hard to kill. This character is very, very hard to kill with her shield, with her protection stealing, with her dash. Like, she's very sneaky, slippery, tanky. She does so much. And I don't think she's probably the best jungler. Um, but, who knows? Naja got like a weird buff. I don't know how I feel about it. I think a lot of people don't like that buff. I'll put him in A plus. He's still strong. Whatever. Nox is A. Still okay. The lifesteal is great on her. She loves Bancroft's talent, so pick that up on her for sure. Nuwa might be back in A tier. I'll put her there because I think she's okay now. Um, she struggled a lot with gods who had like super early clear like Isis, but since they're not really in the meta anymore, she can do okay. She can survive and do well late because she really is a late game, mid to late kind of god. Odin's good god. Odin S plus, S plus god. His passive. Let me explain why this passive is so good. So, in my opinion, this passive is built for Odin being a jungler. Um, the biggest issue that people had with Odin before was that his bird bomb just fell off so badly late game. This passive was Hi-Rez's attempt at alleviating that. Um, so if you have Odin on jungle, he becomes a huge threat late game with this passive. Um, because if you think about the role of a jungler, they're kind of the cleanup crew. So if you have a team fight going on, Odin can obviously be in the team fight, but if he survives it, he survives a bunch of kills, especially if you're reinitiating. So let's say you initiate, a couple people die, you run away, and then you reinitiate in a couple seconds. Odin can bird bomb in, and then that reinitiation just turns into a bloodbath because Odin's damage is going to be ridiculous with that passive. So he's going to be a dangerous jungler. He could also be a dangerous soul laner. He could just sit in the soul laner while other people die. If let's say your dual lane sucks and they feed like level 1, all of a sudden after they feed, you can just dive in on the soul laner you're against, and just wreck with that passive. So his soul lane play is going to be all about timing, but it could be very strong. So he's S plus. Osiris, I think, is up. It's tough. I think he's up in S. He's very strong. People underestimate Osiris, and I don't know why. He's very strong. A brawler, bruiser, will just take over soul lane. I don't think there's anyone who can really beat him. Maybe Ravana, probably Odin now, but he's just very good at harassing the soul laner and making them back up, because of how like intense intense his playstyle is. So he's kind of like an intimidating god to go against. Poseidon, I think, is going to be better. I'll put him in A tier for now, but I think Bancroft's talent is good. I love those long range burst mages. I just think they're better. Um, so Poseidon is going to be good. he's going to be in that. I think Nox is another one of those that can be better because she has that good burst. So Raw is going to be one that's going to surprise a lot of people too. Curse was nerfed, and healers in general are getting a lot of buffs. Um, Raw's healing now is going to be very, very strong. I do think that you should build power Raw. I don't think you should build utility, but his healing is just great because having a mix between semi healer and someone with good amount of damage just makes the heal even better. That's why Guan Yu is so popular. Um, People wouldn't buy a curse just to deal with a Guan Yu heal. At least a lot of times they wouldn't. Um, and if let's say you played a Hell or an Aphrodite, people would focus you super hard, but no one's gonna really focus a Ra because of his healing. They're more gonna focus, the Hunter or something else. So he can kind of get away with the heal without causing too much attention. I think that's the big thing about him. Raijin is up here, probably S. I wouldn't put him quite S plus, but he, in my opinion, the best mage in the game. A little bit better than Janus, but I wouldn't put him in S plus because of it. So, um, still very strong. The ultimate just again is another one way of just confirming kills very well, and also has a lot of control. So, um, very strong. Rama, I think, will be okay. We'll see. I don't think he'll get picked up too much though. Ratatoskr is good. Um, I think the last nerf was probably the last time they'll nerf him. So I'm kind of considering putting him in A plus, and actually that's where I'm going to put him. I don't know if he's quite S tier anymore. I don't see Ratatoskr's wreck as much as they were when he first got released. I think that you can get away from a Ratatoskr now compared to before. If he slowed you and he stunned you with his acorns and he got you with his flurry, you were pretty much dead. And now you can kind of get away with it with the damage debuffs and some other, I mean nerfs, and then some other nerfs that he got as well. Um, Ravana very strong, A plus. Could be verging on it on S, but I think is probably the if you're going to go toe to toe with an Osiris, you would want to pick Ravana. I think he could be a warrior that could go toe to toe with him. Scylla, I think, is still up here, maybe S or A. No, she's A plus. She's A plus. She's not the best mage, so still pick up Soulstone on her. Um, Bancroft's Talon's good on her as well. I think Sunder, with the buffs that they made to Sunder, let's look at those buffs because I think that's a change that people kind of looked over. I think so. The protection reduction went from 25 to 30%. It also applies a 30% attack speed reduction to the Sunder target. So I think Sunder's a great pickup on Scylla because you can set up your ultimate very well with it. What you can do is root, Sunder, and then ult. I think that's a really good setup. Um, but it's not something that people usually do. I would like to see some Scylla's pick up Sunder. I think that'd be a good new item. Will the buffs matter? Probably not, but we'll see. Serket, I think, is also very strong. You're seeing a little bit more Serket now with the Kali basic attack, the Naja basic attack, those kind of builds. They're falling out a little bit. So Serket, because she's more of a burst ability assassin, I think you're going to see her a little bit more. Scotty is okay. She's okay. Sobek is awesome. One of my favorite supports at the moment. I didn't play Sobek for the longest time, but he's very good. I'm actually gonna put him up in S plus. Either S or A plus. I don't know. From what I saw, DreamHack, he's one of the better supports. So I'm gonna have to put him in S. So Soul, I think, is gonna be coming back. She's a magical ADC, and magical ADCs can now be in the dual lane without having to be completely terrified of Golden Bow. So she's gonna come back, I think. Wukong is also up here, very strong. Good poke. Um, in the ultimate with the heal is great sustain for the soul lane, so he's pretty good. You saw him a lot at DreamHack too. That's also why I'm putting him up there. Susano, I think, is still S tier, maybe S plus. Yeah, I think he's S plus. They did nerf him, but he's still very strong. So Sylvanas. So Sylvanas was like down here, B tier, whatever. I think he's up at A tier, possibly going to move up even more. His early lane clear is great. The only problem with him is His pull is just a very tough ability, and it just doesn't make sense. Why would you have a Sylvanas pull when you can do a Khepri pull or an Athena taunt? The pull just isn't as effective. His ultimate is great. The knockup is awesome, especially if you have a Wheelix on your team. But really, the lane clear is the biggest reason why he's up. He's moved up to A tier again. Um, I think you're going to see some pros pick him up because the flower is very, very strong. The MP5 is a joke. Like, I've been playing a lot of Sylvanas. He's one of my favorite gods, and the MP5 is just crazy on it. I can't believe that. The only issue with it is if you're playing against a good team, they're gonna destroy your flower. So I think the key to Sylvanas, the key to laning with Sylvanas, is to put your flower in the middle of the lane, right to where the creeps are, so that the creeps can block it. You can also sit in the middle of the lane and use yourself as a barrier to block the flower. And kind of use it as a base. A lot of times, what people will do is they'll like throw the flower on the side of the lane, which is wrong because that gives the other team easy access to it and they can just shoot it. You need to put it right behind the wave. And what you do is you just kind of, as you move up the wave, put a flower where you think you might be standing for a little while. You can just kind of sit there, stock up on your mana, and then keep moving forward. And then once the ability comes off cooldown, you can place it up. If you push the wave, you can push it up a little bit more and just keep placing flowers. That's how I think Sylvanas should be played with his flowers. Just kind of protect your flowers. That's the biggest thing. Thanatos is okay, whatever. Thor is awesome. Probably the best jungler besides Ao Kuang and Susano. All three are really, really good. Tier is good. He's A plus. Kind of just throw him in the pile of of soul laners who are good right now. Soul laners, in my opinion, didn't change too much. So Uller, I think is also up in A plus. Could possibly be S. You could see Uller back in the middle lane because of Transcendence. He has great wave clear with that item. A lot of great poke. So you might see him. I think he's actually better in the mid lane than the dual lane. You could also play in the dual lane because again, he is the definition of a Transcendence Hunter, and also has a very, very strong late game with a stun. Not many hunters have stuns, so that's a good thing to have. Vamana is still very good. Baskin wrecks with him, but again, not too much has changed with hunter warriors. So Vulcan, I think. Damn, Vulcan. I'm gonna put him in S tier. The reason is mana was a huge issue with Vulcan because you really needed to use all three of your abilities to clear a wave. Um, if you didn't, you're risking the chance that if you're playing against a Zeus can just throw a shield and your turret is dead. Um, Great counter to Vulcan, Zeus, by the way. Isis can just wing gust your turret. So what you really want to do with Vulcan, place your turret and clear the wave as quickly as you can, and then go do other stuff afterwards. And if your turret is still alive, that's great. You can get some more farm while you're kind of doing other things. If it gets destroyed, oh well. But that's really why I think the passive is so key to Vulcan. He gets the extra MP5. So now when he uses all of his abilities at once, he's not using as much mana. Very helpful. So Vulcan, very strong. And again, when it comes to late game, there's really not a mage that's better at defending Phoenixes and towers like Vulcan because of his ultimate. So Shibalanke. People thought was gonna fall off. I don't know why. Because of Golden Bow, he's never been a Golden Bow hunter. Like he liked Golden Bow, but he is the definition of transcendence. He needs transcendence because of how much mana he uses, and I think having that item now makes him a cut above the rest. So he's up in A plus, could be up in S tier. I would be surprised if the pros use Shibalanke a lot. Xing Chen is still bad, B plus. Not quite the worst god anymore, but still pretty bad. Ymir is awesome. I'll put him in A plus. He's very good though, with the buff to his ultimate. Zeus, still very good as well. Put him in A tier. Not quite the best mage in the game though. So I'm actually gonna make a change real quick. I'm gonna put Raijin S plus because I do think he is the best mage in the game. So he's gonna move up. And finally, Zhang Kuei. Zhang Kuei is A tier. Don't think anything's gonna happen with him. He likes the lifesteal because he already has a heal, which is nice. So having that extra life steal is good with Bancroft's Talon, but I don't think there's going to be too much going on with Zhongkui. So that is the tier list for 3.12. Again, these are just predictions. Let me know what you think about the changes. If you like some of the new items, if you like the changes that have been made to some of the gods, let me know. I would love to hear it. And if you if you like the healer meta kind of coming back, let me know about that as well. So I thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.